Hello everyone, welcome to the Keyboard Racer Cult, and I am the Guru. Today I visited a used Porsche dealership in Champaign, Beijing, and met Mr. Kang. I asked if I could borrow 2 fast cars for testing, and he pulled out 2 Porsche 911 GT3s, which stunned me. I said, I know you have many Porsches, but you don't have to bring out 2 identical ones at once. Isn't this just showing off? Then he said to look at the rear of the cars. Oh, they are different. One is 991.1 GT3 and the other is 991.2 GT3. One is an early version and the other a later version. Only the .1 GT3 had the front face changed to .2 GT3, so they look similar from the front. Let me briefly introduce the GT3 model. You should all be familiar with the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, a car with an explosive keyboard score, a naturally aspirated engine pushed to the limit. So where does this lower tier GT3 differ? Mainly in 4 areas. First, the width. The GT3 is slightly wider, GT3 RS is much wider, so the side has an extra gill, and because the GT3 RS is wider, the tires are also wider. 265 at the front and 325 at the back for the GT3 RS, while the GT3 has 245 at the front and 305 at the back. Second, the aerodynamics are different. The GT3 RS has a larger rear wing, creating more downforce. Third, the chassis bushings are different. The GT3 RS uses all-metal spherical joints like a race car, whereas the GT3 opts for stiff rubber bushings to balance comfort. Fourth, the GT3 has slightly less horsepower. However, today we are only testing one of the cars, because I'm afraid you won't be able to keep up if we test both at once. So today let's start with this, the .1 GT3 with a 3.8-liter naturally aspirated engine, 476 horsepower, 440 Nm torque, and a top speed of 9,000 RPM. Next, let's do a 0-100 km/h acceleration test. In 5-degree weather, the 991.1 GT3's time was 3.68 seconds, which doesn't seem very fast. Only slightly faster than the Porsche 718 GTS. But for a 3.8-liter naturally aspirated engine, it's a very impressive performance indeed. The divine PDK dual-clutch transmission and rear mid-engine layout are indispensable. Next, we move to the track test. The GT3 uses the Michelin Cup 2R tires. Where do you think it will rank on the leaderboard? Can it defeat the BMW M4 G82, avenging its Porsche 992S sibling? Leave a comment below and hit the like button. Let's head to the track. Go! The final score for the 991.1 GT3 was 105.28, easily defeating the BMW M4. With a small 3.8-liter engine, achieving this lap time is no small feat. Of course, the Michelin Cup 2R tires played a significant role. Welcome to Keyboard Insights. Let's look at the log data. Comparing the 991.1 GT3 to the BMW M4 is quite interesting, but looking at this curve, I was stunned. The 9111 GT3's straight-line acceleration is actually faster than the S58 engine's M4. I checked twice and even specifically asked Shui to confirm, and he said there was no mistake. Although the temperature is lower, this old, naturally aspirated Porsche is incredibly strong. I thought it was because it excelled in corners, but it turns out it straight up outperforms the S58 in a straight line. What kind of race engine is this? But speaking of which, the BMW M4's cornering is incredible. A large sedan on Pirelli P0 Mark tires, facing the 911 using Michelin Cup 2R tires, holds its own in many corners. It matches in high-speed corners T6 and T7 and can even keep up in T2 thanks to its all-wheel drive, only lagging slightly in corners T5 and T9, hence the gap. It's magical. A 1.8-ton heavy sedan incredibly fast in corners, a small 3.8-liter naturally aspirated engine blasting the engine king in a straight line. I don't understand it. Okay, after reviewing the log, let's talk about the driving experience. Besides not having the tail slide of a front-engine rear-wheel drive, this car is almost perfect in all driving aspects. Driving it doesn't feel inferior to driving a 991.2 GT3 RS worth over $2 million, though the fighting spirit is slightly less. The lap time is a bit slower, not as hardcore, but it's still thrilling enough, truly even more relaxed and comfortable. The GT3 RS feels a bit oppressive and tense. I think the GT3 is just right. Perhaps it's because I'm getting older. Of course, if I were to race for lap times, I'd definitely choose the GT3 RS, a true fighting machine. But if I'm just going to the track for fun without timing myself, I feel the GT3 would not disappoint either. And it's not slow by any means, right? Currently, it uses 245 front tires, 2 sizes narrower than the GT3 RS. If it had wider tires, even a 104 would be possible. However, speaking of which, the .1 GT3 has a minor issue. It's prone to engine blowouts due to an inherent design flaw. Intense driving might lead to engine failure, so if you're buying a used car, it's best to get one that has had an engine replacement claim. Otherwise, if it blows, you'll be facing a repair bill of $370,000. Well, to sum up, the .1 GT3 is a driving machine that's almost impossible to fault. More comfortable in everyday use than the GT3 RS, but if you ask me whether I would buy it, well, not for now. But the reason is not that I don't deserve it. Rather, I prefer the BMW that allows sliding. Porsche is too perfect out of the factory, and the rear mid-engine layout is too stable. It doesn't give me the thrill of flirting with danger. Okay, that's all for this episode. If you like content about racing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.